Hi everyone, my name is Greg and this is the Elvis Reader. I've got a huge book haul here today because I went to my local thrift shop and was able to load up because their paperbacks are a quarter and their hardbacks are $1, so I was able to get a lot of books. The first few I'm going to show you are from the Dragon Riders of Pern series. If you're not familiar with the Dragon Riders of Pern books, they take place on the planet Pern, where there is a dangerous thing called thread that falls from the sky every cycle that they have. It's hard to explain. And the only way to stop the thread, which will destroy anything organic on the planet, is the dragons. Well, the people of Pern, or some of them, are telepathically connected to the dragons, and they have their specific dragon that they're able to ride, and the dragons destroy the thread. And of course, along with this, other things are happening with the society and everything. And it's really an interesting series. But I was able to find 5 of the books. I got the first 3 in the series is Dragon Flight, Dragon Quest, and White Dragon, which I was introduced to many years ago. And this was my introduction to the Dragon Rider series. But I never read them after I read this one. I loved it, but I never went back to them, so I'm interested to get back to the Dragon Riders of Pern series. Then skip ahead a lot in the series, and I found The Skies of Pern and Dragon's Eye. So I'm really excited to read the Dragon Riders books. Then I was able to find Brent Weeks' Shadow's Edge, which is book 2 of the Night Angel trilogy. And I need to find the other 2 books. But I only do my book shopping in used bookstores, so it's kind of hard for me to find books that I'm really after. But I'm sure I can find the other 2 eventually. And it seems like a really neat series. A guy told me about these a few years back, and I never picked them up. And saw this at the thrift shop, so I grabbed it. I will look down the other 2 books, which are called The Way of Shadows, which is book 1, and Beyond the Shadows, which is book 3. And all I know about this series is its main character, Kylar Stern, is an assassin. And he has to go through a lot of stuff. I don't know much about the series because I never really looked into it. But I've got book 2, so now I'm going to look into it some more. Then I picked up Jasper Ford's Something Rotten. Love that color. I want that car. This is one of the Thursday Next books. For those of you not familiar, Thursday Next is a literary detective, and not only does she solve book-related crimes, she can actually go into books themselves and solve crimes that happen in the books. So I'm going to try. This is going to be an interesting book for me to try. I've never read any of the books before, but it looks good. And then I picked up Justin Cronin's The Passage, which a friend of mine years ago sent me a hardcover, but I never read it, and I don't even know what happened to the hardcover. I moved, and I lost a whole box of books during my move from where I was living at the time to Rock Hill, and I lost a lot of my books. But this is being made into a series, or has been made into a series. At any rate, I know it's all about some kind of vampirism that the government actually started with a virus or something of that nature. It looks pretty good. I saw the commercials, so that one made me want to read the book, and because I don't want to watch the series, but I do want to read the book. So I got the book, and then I picked up a copy of Samuel Butler's Erewhon, which is the first dystopian novel ever published, and it was put out back in the 1800s, something like that. I don't know much about it other than the fact that it is a dystopian from back in the 1800s. And if you look at the word Erewhon, backwards it spells nowhere. So that's pretty cool, and so I'm really interested to see what it's like. The language may not be much for me, but we'll see what it's like. Oh, and a picture of Samuel Butler. I just noticed that. So we'll see what happens with that one. Then I picked up some mass market, or excuse me, trade paperbacks. I got book 1 in The Seekers by Aaron Hunter. I read a couple of the Hunters books with the cats in them, and then The Seekers is bears. So that's pretty cool. And it says 3 bears from different species, black, polar, and grizzly, are separated from their families when they're just cubs, each determined to survive in the harsh wilderness. They find themselves brought together on a perilous journey guided by a shape-shifting grizzly cub whose destiny will affect them all. So that sounds pretty neat. And Aaron Hunter, if you don't know, if you read any of the Aaron Hunter books, Aaron Hunter is actually a whole bunch of different people writing under the same name. So a lot of the books are different sounding because of that. Then I picked up The City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. I read this when it first came out. I don't remember much about it, I'll be honest. But I remember enjoying it. And it was only a quarter. So I'll reread it. I do remember I enjoyed it. So I cannot wait to reread that. Then I picked up the first 2 books in the Matched series by Ali Condie. Or Condell. Condi. Yep. It's Matched and Crossed. I love the covers. And that's going to look pretty on my bookshelf. And I remember reading Matched about 2 or 3 years ago when my best friend, his mother recommended this to me. And it's really interesting. In the society, officials decide who you love, where you work, when you die. Cassia has always trusted their choices. It's hardly any price to pay for a long life, the perfect job, the ideal mate. So when her best friend appears on the matching screen, Cassia knows with complete certainty that he is the one, until she sees another face flash for an instant before the screen fades to black. Now Cassia is faced with an impossible choice, between Xander and Kai, between the only life she's ever known and a path no one else has ever dared follow, between perfection and passion. And I remember reading this before, and I want to reread it, and now I have the second book in the series, so yes. Then I picked up 3 hardcovers. The first one is another of the Pern books, The Dolphins of Pern, and isn't that a beautiful cover? I don't know anything about the dolphins. I only know about the dragons. And there is a dragon on the cover, but there's the dolphins. I cannot read, I'll have to read the other Pern books first. I want to read those first. But this looks really neat, and I love dolphins, so that's a positive. Then I picked up Terry Pratchett's The Last Continent. I adore Terry Pratchett. I adore the Discworld books so much. And I have not read this one, and I'm so excited to find it in hardcover. And I'll read the blurb. Something is seriously amiss at the Unseen University, Ankh-Morpork's most prestigious, i.e., only institution of higher learning. A professor is missing, and not just any professor, the egregious professor of cruel and unusual geography. Also, the university librarian who transmuted, you know how things change, into an ape, a handy configuration for a librarian, don't you think? So long ago that no one exactly remembers his name, least of all himself. But fear not, the search is on. The lecturer in recent rooms and the chair of indefinite studies, as well as the dean and the arch-chancellor, will follow the trail wherever it leads, even to the other side of Discworld, where the last continent, Forex, is under construction. Imagine a magical land as bald as a baby's bottom, where there are no trees, where rain is but a myth, where there are precious few animals and few of them precious, and you have imagined Forex, where even the ordinary is strange, the four-legged duck, for example, as though evolution is being hurried up with the intention of sorting things out as soon as possible. And I'm sorry, it just sounds so funny. And oh my god, Death is in the book. I love Death. Death is hilarious in the Discworld series. Guys, I highly recommend the Discworld books. And if you want to start with the Discworld books, read Reaper Man first. Yes, Reaper Man first. It is so wonderful. But I cannot wait to read this one. Oh, I'm so excited to find this book. And then the last one I found was Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare, who also wrote City of Bones. And I read this when it first came out, but I loved every minute of it. And I never read Clockwork Prince and Clockwork Princess, which I really wish I had. So I cannot wait to reread this one and find the other two books so I can finish the trilogy and own the trilogy, because A, they're phenomenal. I do remember liking this more than City of Bones, but I really want to reread this. The print is phenomenal. The story is incredible, and look at that cover. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful cover. So guys, there it is. I have done my book haul. All of that plus 2 DVDs, $8. You gotta love a thrift shop, guys. You gotta love thrift shops. So anyway, that is my book haul. I will be back later with more, and talk to you later. Bye.